average. That's the medium-term moving average. It is a 4-day exponential moving average of typical prices, the average of the high, the low, and the close, and that is compared against a 10-day simple moving average of the close. That was that black line that I showed you on that chart. So that's kind of the moving average comparison, because the moving averages, if you're familiar with those kind of strategies, are based upon the angle of the moving average to determine the trend, and then the crossover situations, which indicate the start of a trend or a reversal of a trend. Crossovers and angles are the key. The other indicators that we had on that screen were the predicted differences, which is the difference between a predicted moving average and an actual moving average. The blue line that we showed was a medium-term moving average comparison. The green line, a long-term moving average comparison. Mostly what they will show you is the shifts in momentum. You know, kind of if the market is weakening or if it's strengthening, the movement that you see on the chart. It's kind of like a lot of the other indicators that you see, in terms of RSI and ECD and some of the others, but I think shows it a little more better, more visually than the other indicators do. That other indicator that we had there was the Neuro Index, and that compares the 3-day predicted versus actual moving average for a forecast of prices in 2 days, so a typical price in 2 days. Okay, the predicted highs and lows, of course, that's another indicator, and I think that probably if you're looking for the predicted indicator line, that predicted exponential moving average, that's the, as I say, the 4-day EMA of typical prices versus a 10-day simple moving average of closes. Okay, see another question here related to volume. Yes, when I do volume is one of my screening tests. If I look at something that looks good to me and I want to know, is this a good enough market to trade? Does it have the enough volume to be able to trade? Is there liquidity there? So if it's a newer market, I mean, obviously in the E-mini, the Euro, a lot of those you don't have to check because you know it's there. But there might be other markets that you're interested in trading, and you would like to know how many other people are there out there that are trading. How can you get in? How can you get out? Without disrupting the market. So yes, I do look at the volume from that standpoint. I do not use, as some people have done, as much where I look at the volume in comparison to, let's say, if the market is really strong on a given day on big volume, I'll make that comparison, but I don't analyze or overanalyze, volume to any great extent. So, hope that answers the question. What is your cutoff for volume minimum? I think I've mentioned this in other webinars, but I usually like to look at markets like in the case of futures. Each one market is a little bit different because when you get into options, you can have so many different options available that you have very small margin or volume in each one of them. But overall, when I'm looking at futures, I'd like to see volume of 10,000 contracts or more a day. That doesn't mean you cannot trade if it's only 5,000 or whatever. What's more important is when you look at it, are you getting in, like in the case of, let's say, if you had a volume of 10,000, is it coming in blocks of 1,000 contracts at a time, or is it, kind of a very smooth transition, 1 or 2 or 5 contracts at a time? You want that kind of fluid type of a price movement. But in general, just as a ballpark estimate, you'd like to see futures volume of 10,000 or more to assure the liquidity is there. If you're, depends again on your size and whatever. If you're trading one contract, it may not be so important that you have a precise number. You could even do it with some of the mini contracts you can get, like in some of the currencies, the micro currencies, or in the mini and the grains. You could do it as long as you don't get stuck with a situation where you are the only guy out there, and the other side doesn't really know anything about what you're doing. You just want to keep it anonymous. So, okay. What about stocks? I realize this webinar is about futures. Just wondering, stocks, as I said, the same way. I don't do a lot of stock trading. Sometimes when you can put a price in there. One of the things that I have done a little bit recently is to sell some puts. If the market gets down to the put price, at the exercise date, then I can, buy into the stock at a lower price. but I don't really set any volume type thing. I just enter it. If it gets filled, it gets filled at the price where the put was. I don't really have any particular criteria, I guess, in terms of stocks. I think most of the stocks that are traded that are publicly stated, traded, would have no problem with volume unless you get into some real obscure. I wouldn't trade penny stocks that way. I wouldn't trade the junior resource stocks that way. Those kinds of things. But for the major stocks, I don't think you have a lot of problem with volume in almost any case. Okay, well, I'm looking like I'm running out of my time allocation here. If you have any other questions, there are things you can enter on the TraderPlanet.com website. We have archived other webinars there where you can go back and see some more details about some of the indicators that I talked about. Of course, we'll be doing other webinars in the future, and so if you do have subjects you want covered, then we can, just let us know and we can address those in future webinars. But do appreciate your attending today's webinar. Look forward to seeing you at other webinars in the future. Darla, turning it back over to you.
Thank you, Darrell. The recording for this webcast will be posted on Trader Planet within the next 24 hours, and we will be emailing the link for the recording to each of you. If you are interested in seeking further information on Vantage Point intermarket analysis software, we urge you to contact our friends at Market Technologies, the makers of Vantage Point, via the phone number on your screen. This concludes today's presentation. Thank you for attending, and all of us here at Trader Planet wish you a pleasant evening.